I had no idea that an ordinary little thing could destroy my entire life. But it was the beginning of a big lie, and within a few days I realized I was trapped. The end of this story will definitely surprise you. It wasn't the message that broke me. It was the way she laughed after reading it, as if someone had just sent her a meme. As if the words "still sore" were the kind of joke you shared with friends over brunch, and not the kind that made a man's ribs tighten like a vice. I was shaving at the time, foam covering half my jaw. Razor paused mid-stroke. The message lit up on her phone, screen face up on the bathroom counter, like it didn't have anything to hide. Her fingers moved fast, deleting it before I could say a word. She caught my eyes in the mirror, smiled too quick, said, "Just my friend Jess. She's nuts." And she laughed. I nodded, kept shaving, didn't say a word, but something inside me shifted. Not a snap, not yet, just a deep, slow bend, like steel under pressure. I thought about asking her what she meant, about Jess, about sore, but she was already humming again, brushing her hair, pulling on her blouse. I didn't have it in me to push, not because I trusted her, but because I knew I didn't want to hear whatever bullshit was coming next. That week the clues came quiet, wrapped in everyday things. She bought new towels, navy blue ones, even though we had perfectly good ones. A different body wash appeared in the shower, something citrusy and sharp that didn't smell like her usual vanilla. Her closet smelled different too, like cologne that didn't belong to either of us. When I opened it one evening, I swear I could feel the ghost of someone else's presence in the fabric. But the weirdest part was the shirt. She gave me a birthday gift early, called it a surprise, handed me a box with a perfectly folded button-up in size M. I've worn L since high school. I said nothing. She laughed, said I must have lost weight. That night when I took the trash out, I found myself digging through it like a lunatic. I didn't know what I was looking for. Maybe a receipt, a wrapper, a hint of something I wasn't supposed to see. My hands were shaking when I pulled out a crumpled napkin smeared with lipstick. Not her color, and a movie stub from a theater I hadn't been to in months. I stood in the garage holding that scrap of paper like it was evidence in a crime I hadn't witnessed yet. Something small inside me fractured. 2 nights later, she told me she was going out for girls' night. I nodded again, played along, even smiled when she kissed me on the cheek. But after the garage incident, I wasn't about to sit back anymore. While she was in the shower, I slipped the tiny GPS tracker into her keychain. One of those inconspicuous little black things you'd never notice unless you were paranoid. And by now, I was. She left around 7, spritzing herself with that new scent that didn't belong in our house. The same one I smelled on the closet hangers. Her heels clicked down the front steps and into her car, and I watched her pull away from the upstairs window, hands gripping the sill so tight my knuckles went white. I didn't go anywhere, just sat in the living room, watching the tracker on my phone. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Then the dot on the map took a sharp turn off the main road. Not toward downtown, not toward the wine bar she claimed to be meeting her friends at. Number she drove to a hotel just outside the city. A decent place, not cheap, not luxury either. Just enough anonymity for someone trying to fuck in secret without raising eyebrows. I didn't follow her, didn't scream, didn't call. I just sat there, sat in the dark until the porch light flicked on automatically at 9 p.m. The house felt wrong, like it didn't belong to me anymore. At 10:43 p.m., the camera I'd installed by the front door, one of those little smart cams she thought was just for packages, lit up with motion. I picked up the phone. A man walked through our front door. He had a tattoo on his forearm, a bold, dark swirl of ink. Couldn't make out the design, but it was too specific to forget. He was laughing, comfortable, like he'd been there before, like he belonged. I froze. My hand hovered over the screen. I could have called her name, could have run downstairs, could have done anything, but I didn't. I watched. In the morning, she walked past me in the kitchen with her usual tight ponytail, kissed me like nothing happened, and said something about washing the sheets. "They feel kind of sticky," she said, scrunching her nose. I nodded again, took the bedding from her hands, loaded it into the washer. I didn't say a word, but for the first time in my life, My hands trembled as I closed the lid. Later that day, I stood in the backyard smoking a cigarette I'd bummed from a coworker the week before. Hadn't smoked in years. The wind was cold and sharp. I let it bite my skin. That's when I knew. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. Confrontation gives them control. Tears, excuses, gaslighting. Number I was going to observe. Track. Document. Building. Because now I needed proof. Not just for me, but for the storm I was already preparing to unleash. There's a certain kind of silence a house makes when it's lying to you. I noticed it more in the days that followed. The creaks didn't sound like they used to. Every little click, hum, and groan from the pipes or the walls felt like whispers I wasn't meant to hear. She moved through our home like nothing had changed, humming in the kitchen, doing her skincare routine in the bathroom, slipping her phone under pillows and flipping it face down when she set it on the table. That phone had become a border between us, a device filled with things I wasn't allowed to see anymore. I didn't bring up the hotel. I didn't mention the camera alert. I acted like the same husband she thought she'd married. Predictable, quiet, steady. But I wasn't. Not anymore. The morning after I watched that man enter my house, I walked past the bedroom and stopped at the edge of the door. The sheets were fresh now. She'd already washed them. She was still asleep, tangled in the covers, her back to me. And all I could think about was the way he'd moved. That easy confidence in his shoulders, like he'd strolled into a place he'd memorized. I knew then that it wasn't the first time. I needed to see more. I needed to know just how deep this went. Not because I planned to fix it, but because I was preparing to leave it all in flames. That afternoon, I drove across town to a quiet office in a strip mall. No signs on the door. Just a tinted window and a buzzer. Inside was a private investigator I'd met once through a guy at work. Her name was Julia. She had one of those faces that didn't blink too much, didn't offer fake smiles, just business. When I told her what was going on, she didn't ask for details. She slid a small box across the desk. Clock camera, she said. Wi-Fi enabled. Motion triggered. Looks like a cheap Target knockoff, but records in 4K. You'll know everything you need to know. Just don't put it in the bedroom unless you want footage you can't forget. I didn't flinch. I was past the point of flinching. I brought the camera home and placed it in the kitchen, tucked neatly between the microwave and a dusty cookbook we never used. It clicked on with a soft blink of red when I tested it. The angle was perfect. Wide enough to catch the entire room, including the door leading out to the backyard and the hallway toward the stairs. All the casual spaces, the ones where comfort lived. 3 days passed before it caught something. She said she was going to a wine tasting that night, something her friend Paige had invited her to. I nodded, played along again, helped her pick a dress, watched her curl her hair. She asked if I wanted to come but didn't push when I said I had work to catch up on. She kissed me quick and left. I waited. Tracker said she went nowhere near the wine bar. The camera turned on at 10:17 p.m. He came through the back this time. Same tattoo on his forearm, partially covered by a leather jacket. He moved like a man familiar with the layout, flicked on the light by the sink without fumbling. He carried a bottle of red wine and a six-pack. Classy. He dropped his keys in the ceramic bowl near the fridge like he lived here. I sat in my office upstairs, the glow from my screen the only light, watching this stranger lean against my counter and open the fridge like he was looking for leftovers. Then I heard her laugh. It wasn't the fake customer service one she used with coworkers or the short, polite one she gave me when I told a joke. It was the real one, the one she used to give me in the early years. The full belly laugh that made her wrinkle her nose. She walked into the frame, barefoot, holding 2 glasses, and kissed him before he even said anything. That kiss, long, slow, with hands roaming, told me everything. And then he said something I'll never forget. Your guy's not as scary as you said. She laughed again. Said something about, he's harmless. He doesn't even ask questions. That's when I paused the footage. I sat there staring at the frozen frame, her leaning against him, his hand on her hip, her eyes glassy with wine and want. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, wondering when she'd started seeing me as harmless. When exactly did I become that? A man so irrelevant she could cheat in my own house and not even feel the need to lie creatively. The next day, I didn't go to work. I called in sick for the first time in 6 years and spent the whole morning going through the footage again. I clipped the video, backed it up, encrypted it, saved it on 3 different flash drives. One went into my gym bag, one into a drawer in the garage under my old tools, one into a new fireproof box I ordered from Amazon that morning. That evening, I picked her up from a supposed book club and took her to dinner. I smiled. She smiled. We talked about nothing. I told her I was proud of how hard she'd been working lately. She touched my hand over the table. She had no idea what I'd seen, no clue. When we got home, she went straight to the bathroom. I walked into the bedroom, opened the closet, and stared at our wedding photo, the one where I wore a crooked tie and she couldn't stop laughing at the vows I wrote on hotel notepaper. I stared at it for a long time. Then I took it off the wall and slid it under the bed. She came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel and asked if I wanted to watch something on Netflix. I told her I was tired. She gave me that sweet little smile again, the one that used to mean something, and climbed into bed. And me? I went downstairs, sat on the couch in the dark, listened to her footsteps above me, imagined him retracing them. And I knew. I wasn't building toward a confrontation. I was building toward something else. Every lie has a cost. My goal now was simple. Make sure she paid for it. I walked into a different bank that Wednesday, not the one we'd opened accounts in when we were newlyweds. That place was a crime scene now, at least in my head. I wore plain jeans and an old hoodie, just another forgettable guy with a forgettable face. The clerk asked how I'd like the account set up. Just me, I said. I signed the paperwork with a calmness that almost surprised me. Half our savings now mine. I left just enough in the joint account so she wouldn't notice. Not yet. That night I sat on the edge of the bed while she brushed her hair, talking about some trip in April we should take. Said she missed me, smiled. I told her it sounded perfect. She had no idea she was already halfway erased from my future. In the following days, I started gathering everything. Duplicating birth certificates, car titles, mortgage paperwork. Originals stayed in the drawer. My copies went under a floorboard I lifted quietly one morning while she was at yoga. I wasn't planning revenge. Not yet. I was preparing for something cleaner. Something that didn't need yelling. Then came the flash drive. I clipped together a 20-second video. Her laugh, his voice, that kiss at the counter, the wine bottle opening, the sound of betrayal, time-stamped and clear. I saved the full hour-long clip, too, with synced audio from a mic I hid behind the bookshelf. Everything went on a silver flash drive I labeled with one simple line, "Play me." That flash drive went into a black velvet box, the kind you'd expect jewelry to be in. I slipped a printed still from the video inside, his hand on her waist, her eyes shut like she belonged to him. Beside it, I placed a notarized copy of a divorce certificate. Every piece was falling into place. She kept up her role, playing wife like she'd never left the stage, made pancakes, kissed me, said I seemed more peaceful lately, asked if we could do a movie night. I nodded, told her I'd check our schedule. She didn't know I'd already replaced the locks, sitting boxed in the garage, ready, or that I'd installed one final backup cloud sync, uploading every file, every clip, every message. I was building a bomb in plain sight, wrapped in silence. Then I found something small that confirmed it all again. A shirt in the laundry. Slim fit, wrong brand, never mine. She blinked a moment too long when I asked. Said it got mixed in at the dry cleaners. Said she'd return it. That lie landed soft, but it left a mark. Their lives were bleeding into mine now. He wasn't just in my house. He was trying it on. I moved faster. I dug into our account records. Line by line, week by week. A hotel in Midtown. A wine bar she'd said she didn't like. An Uber drop-off near our home, 20 minutes before I usually got in. Precise, careful, but not enough. I saw the pattern now. She hadn't just stumbled. She'd built a second life with purpose. I sent it all to my lawyer. She called the next morning. "You've got more than enough," she said. "Whenever you're ready." That night, Liana made spaghetti, opened a bottle of red, lit a candle just because. She looked up from her glass and said, "You've been calm lately, almost peaceful. I told her the food was great, told her slowing down felt good. She smiled, reached across the table and touched my hand, and I let her, because I wanted her relaxed. I wanted her warm. I wanted her completely unprepared, so that when I handed her the little velvet box and she opened it, there'd be no more lies left to hide behind. The night fell slow, like it knew what was coming. I spent the day making everything perfect. Candles, chilled wine, the old playlist we used to slow dance to in our kitchen before everything turned fake. I found the speaker she loved, cleaned the patio windows so the string lights outside would glow right, even made dinner. Her favorite, that garlic rosemary pasta she always said no one else made right. It was all there, all the little details she thought meant I still loved her. I didn't. But tonight wasn't about love. It was about letting the truth speak for itself. She walked in wearing the blue dress, the one from our first anniversary, said she found it in the back of the closet and couldn't resist. She even wore the perfume she used to save for special nights. Her face glowed with a kind of nervous hope, the kind that made my skin crawl now. "You went all out," she said softly. "This is really sweet." I smiled. "Happy anniversary." We ate like we used to, slow, laughing at nothing, drinking too much. She kept reaching across the table to touch my arm, like she was searching for a crack to crawl back through. She thought she was winning me back. She thought this was a resurrection. She had no idea she was at her own funeral. After dinner, she asked if I wanted to dance. I said I had something for her first. I stood, walked over to the cabinet, and pulled out the black velvet box, set it on the table in front of her. She smiled, wide, genuine. Thought it was jewelry. "Shall we toast first?" she said, raising her glass. I shook my head once. "Open it." Her hands moved slower now, uncertainty creeping in. She lifted the lid. She saw the flash drive first, then the divorce papers, then the still photo, the one where her mouth was on his neck and her hands wrapped around his back like mine had never been there. She blinked. Once, twice. Then came the denial. "What is this?" Her voice cracked. "Where did you get this?" I didn't answer. I walked out to the porch, where the Bluetooth speaker sat already paired to my phone. One tap. That was it. The sound started low. Her laugh filled the air first. Then his voice. Cocky, amused, too loud in the quiet of our street. "Your guy's not as scary as you said." A few more seconds. The kiss, the moan, the clink of a wine glass on our countertop. She screamed, not in pain, in panic. She lunged outside barefoot, grabbing at the speaker like it was a grenade. But it was already done. The neighbors were on their porches. One of them across the street stood with a beer in hand, not saying a word. Another lady peeked through blinds. Nobody moved. Nobody stopped it. She turned on me, screamed that I was cruel, that I violated her, that this was a private matter. Her voice was shaking, high-pitched, desperate. I just looked at her and took a slow sip of wine. "You denied it," I said calmly. "Every time." She grabbed the box, hurled it at the wall. It bounced off, contents scattering. The flash drive slid across the porch and landed near her bare feet. She looked down at it like it was something that bit her, then looked back at me, eyes wide. "You set this up," she whispered. "This whole thing." I nodded once. "I gave you every chance to stop. You made the decision every time you opened that hotel door." She tried to speak again, but the words collapsed on her tongue. She backed away into the house, trembling, slammed the door behind her. I stayed outside for a while. The music kept playing, skipping back to our old songs. Love songs, naive things written by people who never had to plant landmines in their own homes. I let it play. I let her sit inside that house, surrounded by every lie she'd ever told. I let her think about all the nights I said nothing, when I was already watching, listening, recording. When I finally came inside, she was sitting on the floor in the hallway, legs pulled to her chest. She didn't even look up. "I never wanted to lose you," she whispered. "I was stupid. I don't know what I thought." I didn't say a word. She stood slowly, walked toward me like someone testing frozen ice. "Please," she said, voice barely audible, "don't leave me." I looked her straight in the eyes and I could see it. The shift. The exact moment she realized she wasn't in control anymore. Not of the story, not of the future, not of me. I already did, I said. Then I walked past her and left the house for the night. Let her sit with the silence she created. Let her clean up the wreckage alone. She didn't sleep that night. I know because I came back at 4 a.m. and found her sitting on the edge of the couch. Lights on, still in the blue dress, mascara smeared like war paint. She didn't look up when I walked in, just stared straight ahead like she was waiting for some miracle to reverse the hours. I didn't speak. Walked past her, shut the bedroom door, locked it behind me. The next morning I was at my lawyer's office when they unlocked the door. She already had everything prepped. The papers were printed, the evidence bundled, the file thick enough to crush whatever defense Liana might dream up. I signed with a steady hand, no hesitation. Just that low, grim satisfaction that comes when a storm you've been building finally breaks. We submitted the divorce petition that day, but I didn't stop there. I had another target, him, her lover, the tattooed ghost who thought my house was his playground. I traced his company through social media, found his employer. Turned out he worked in real estate, public-facing, client-trusting, reputation-sensitive. Perfect. My lawyer drafted a package. Timeline, video screenshots, date-stamped visits, audio excerpts. Everything tied to my wife. Everything tied to him. She submitted it through the firm's official channels. By the end of the week, he was fired. Liana tried to pretend like it wasn't related. She left a note on the kitchen table. He's going through a tough time. Please don't make it worse. I didn't even pick it up, just brushed it into the trash with a dish towel. That weekend, she changed her approach. No more pleading, no more crying. She pivoted, fast, into manipulation. Claimed she might be pregnant. Left the test box on the bathroom sink like a landmine, hoping I'd step on it. I didn't react. Just pulled out my phone, texted my lawyer, and requested a paternity test immediately if any claims were made. 2 days later, she quietly admitted it wasn't mine. Didn't even try to justify it. I still remember how her voice sounded when she said it, like she was trying to sound sad, but the words cracked too early to carry any weight. She said she didn't know what to do, that she needed me, that we could raise the child together, like it was some twisted romantic arc. I didn't flinch. I'm not doing this, I said. Not with you. Not again. That was when she broke. That night, my car windshield was smashed. Next morning, I found the front door of my new rental scratched up. Deep gouges down the wood, like someone had dragged a key or a ring over it again and again. There were missed calls on my phone. Dozens. Messages that swung between apology and fury. You're destroying my life, one said. You were never even here, said another. I made a mistake, but you're being cruel. Then, if I can't fix this, no one will. I handed it all to the police. The officer didn't even blink. Said she'd seen this pattern before, took photos, filed the report, and within 48 hours a restraining order was processed. She was legally barred from coming near me, my job, or my new address. That was the day I changed the locks. Finally. I left her with the house. Empty, cold, full of echoes. Let her sit with the same ghost she once invited in. And then, something strange happened. Silence. The call stopped. The texts ended. No more knocks on the door. It was like someone hit a switch and drained the chaos out of her. I knew better. That wasn't closure. It was the calm before the next storm. And I was right. Because 3 weeks later, I got a message on Facebook. It wasn't from her. It was from Brooke. A name I hadn't seen since high school. A girl I once sat next to in chemistry class, the one who used to sketch stars on her notebook while pretending not to glance at me. The message was simple, friendly, no pressure. Hey, don't know if you remember me, but I saw your name in a tagged post. I hope you're okay. I didn't answer for 2 days, not because I wasn't curious, but because I wasn't sure if I was capable of normal yet. My hands still clenched when I passed hotel signs. I still flinched when I smelled citrus body wash. I still looked at people like they might be hiding something in their pockets. But eventually I replied. We talked. Slowly, cautiously, like walking barefoot on broken glass. She was kind and careful and didn't ask too much too fast. We talked about music, about books, about cities we always meant to visit but never had the right time or money. I found myself laughing again, and the sound of my own voice startled me. It sounded alive. We met once, just for coffee. No pressure. She asked nothing about Liana, just asked how I'd been sleeping. I told her I was working on it. I didn't tell her yet about the flash drive, or the court documents, or the sound my wife made when her world collapsed. That wasn't a story for a new connection. That was something I still held close, like a scar no one else could touch. But something had shifted. Not everything needed to be war. Not every woman was a trap. Some just wanted to sit beside you while the world stopped spinning, even if it was only for a moment. 3 months passed before I let myself breathe. Not fully, not deeply, just enough to realize I wasn't waiting for her to show up outside my window anymore. The calls had stopped. The chaos quieted. My new address was locked down. My routines rebuilt. Still, I moved like someone walking through a recently extinguished fire, careful not to step on embers that might still burn. Brooke came back into my life with a kind of patience that made me uncomfortable at first. I wasn't used to it, this lack of urgency. No drama, no manipulation, just steady warmth. She never asked about Liana unless I brought it up. She never pressed when I got quiet mid-sentence. Never tried to fix what didn't need fixing. We started with long walks, places I didn't have memories attached to, new parks, new corners of the city. She liked vinyl, used to run a little record booth at pop-up markets. She'd bring old albums in a backpack and ask if I wanted to listen to them after dinner. We'd play music on our old turntable, sit on the floor with our backs against the couch, and say nothing for whole tracks, just breathing the same air. And for the first time in almost a year, that silence didn't feel heavy. She knew I had a daughter. I told her early before it could matter too much. I said I didn't know how to introduce her, or if I even should. Brooke didn't flinch, just said, "Whenever it feels right." I'm not rushing you. We took it slow. She never brought overnight bags, never tried to decorate my place, never asked if I was ready, because we both knew I wasn't. But one night I asked her to stay anyway. Not because I needed distraction, but because the air didn't feel so sharp with her around. I remember that night clearly. My daughter was over for the weekend. We'd been building Lego sets on the floor, Brooke helping her find the right pieces while I half watched, half listened from the kitchen. The music was soft, the lights warm. My daughter laughed, really laughed. The kind of sound I hadn't heard from her since everything fell apart. And when I looked over at them, heads close, hands sorting through colorful bricks, I felt something I hadn't in months. Stillness. No tension in my chest. No dread in the pit of my stomach. Just a quiet, solid feeling I couldn't name. That night, after my daughter fell asleep on the couch between us, I walked into the kitchen to wash dishes, and Brooke followed. She stood beside me, handed me a towel. Didn't say much, just dried each dish as I handed it to her. And in that ordinary rhythm, I found something I hadn't known I needed. Normal, no games, no traps, no damn lies. When I looked over, she was already watching me. Not with pity, not with hope, just present. "I know you're still hurting," she said, "and I'm okay with that." And for once, I didn't want to stay silent. I told her thank you, for the space, for the patience, for not needing anything from me I couldn't give yet. And when she hugged me, I didn't pull away. We didn't sleep together that night. We didn't need to. She stayed on the couch, blanket pulled to her chin, soft breathing filling the space. I stood in the hallway for a while, just watching the quiet, watching this small, strange moment of peace and thinking. This is what real partnership feels like. But nothing ever stays that clean. 3 days later, a letter showed up. No return address, no name, just my name scribbled in handwriting I'd recognize anywhere. I stood in the mailbox alcove of my apartment complex, fingers stiff from the cold, just staring at the envelope. Part of me wanted to drop it straight into the trash, but I didn't. Inside was a folded piece of lined paper, ripped from a notebook, the kind she used to write grocery lists on. The handwriting was messy, rushed, like she didn't think she'd have the nerve to finish it. I'm sorry, I've lost everything. You were right. I didn't understand what I had. I don't want money. I don't want favors. I just wanted to say that. You never deserved what I did to you. No threats, no pleas. Just that. It didn't move me. If anything, it reminded me how hollow her words had always been. She could write apologies in ink all day, but none of it would matter. Not after the man with the tattoo on his arm drank from my glasses. Not after the nights she kissed him, then came home and kissed our daughter goodnight with the same mouth. I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked the unknown number she used to send the follow-up text 2 days later. Please, Jared, I'm not okay. That's not my problem anymore. I stood on the porch that evening, phone in hand, message blinking once before vanishing behind the blocked filter. Inside, Brooke and my daughter were laughing about something again. Baking cookies, I think. The smell of cinnamon drifted out through the screen door. I tapped block one final time. Then I walked back inside, not to run from the past, but to stand in a room it couldn't touch anymore. 1 year to the day since everything shattered, I stood barefoot in the backyard of a new house. The wood under my feet was dry from the sun, the porch light above me glowing softly in the early dusk. Inside, Brooke was curled up on the couch, my daughter asleep against her chest, one hand still clutching a Lego brick. The air smelled like cinnamon and sugar. Brooke's idea of a lazy Sunday. But the quiet that filled the house wasn't lazy. It was earned. No ghosts, no second lives hidden behind closet doors. Just warmth, real and solid. On the table next to me sat the signed contract for a design project I shelved back when I still thought marriage meant sacrifice. Back then, I gave up opportunities like this to make sure I was present. For her, for Liana, for the illusion. Now, I moved on my own terms. The peace I had wasn't just about silence. It was about control. I didn't jump at doorbells anymore. I didn't flinch at cologne in public. The name Liana didn't make my stomach twist. It barely registered anymore. So when my phone buzzed and I saw the message from an unknown number, it didn't hit hard. I'm sorry, I've lost everything. That was all it said. No signature, no plea. Just a final flicker from a burned-out match. I stared at it, waiting for something to rise in my chest. But nothing came. Just a dull, quiet certainty. I tapped block. No anger, no speech. Just the final click of a door she'd never walk through again. Inside, the lights were soft. My daughter mumbled something in her sleep about dragons and elevators. Brooke looked up from the couch with that same calm smile she always gave me when she sensed a ghost had passed through. She didn't ask who messaged me. She didn't need to. I walked inside, shut the door behind me, and flipped the porch light on. A habit now, not out of fear, just ritual. A signal that what's inside is safe and what's outside doesn't belong. There was no more Liana. Not in any way that mattered. She could sit with her regret, scroll through old photos, listen to her own echo in an empty house. She could whisper my name into her phone like it still belonged to her. She could write apologies she'd never get to read aloud. Let her. She wasn't my wife anymore. She wasn't my betrayer. She was just gone. The last time she saw me, I was holding the box with the flash drive and the divorce papers inside. She thought that was the end. It wasn't. That was just the beginning of a life without her shadow. This was the real ending. Not with screams, not with slammed doors, but with the absence of any need to explain myself to her ever again. I sat beside Brooke. She leaned into me, one arm still around my daughter. We watched some old cartoon, barely paying attention. The house smelled like butter and warm sugar. No drama, no tension, no weight behind the silence. Just peace, real peace. And that, not revenge, not justice, was the best ending I could have asked for. That's all for now, folks. Thank you for being with me today and listened. And if you liked my story, please subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below what you think about all this, and what would you do if you were me. Also, don't forget to check my other stories in description below.